The new car, the SF 1000, got the SF 90 old last year as a starting point. Regulation have maintained stable this year. The entire project has been trying to get as much aero performance as possible.
Huh. Well, good to see they've worked out well. That said, it's not the biggest lie that's spewed from Ferrari's mouth this year.
I think I already mentioned it. Seb is our first option.
So, at time of recording, we're at the end of Friday on race week, and the Scuderia's pace has looked, well, not great. And to be honest, the early signs are that the team will be battling with the likes of McLaren and Renault this weekend, one of which nearly went bust and the others run by this twat. But what's actually caused this mess in the first place? How have Ferrari got things so wrong, and is there any way they can salvage this season or even the next one? Hey there guys, I'm Will and welcome to FP1. Today I thought we'd go into this into a little bit more detail, looking at why Ferrari's car isn't performing and what they can really do to fix it. Now, it's only early days, but I've not really seen Ferrari this demotivated from poor performance since, well, 2014, or even go as far back as 2009, so what on earth's going on here? Right then, to start things off, I think it's important to mention that we really shouldn't see this as much of a surprise. News was leaking out of the Italian media all the way back in January saying that the performance of Ferrari's SF 1000 wasn't really meeting the early expectations. Add to that their woeful testing performances and the news last week that the car wouldn't have any updates on Austria and would instead have to wait until Hungary before the major improvements could be made. And this is where we see the first major problem here. So, I'm not sure if you've heard about it, there's this little thing called COVID-19 going around, and it's basically thrown the sport into a head load of shit. So the sport's governing body, the FIA, have implemented rules meaning that car development is going to be frozen from 2020 to 2021. Some parts are going to be frozen right from the start of the 2020 season, while for others, teams will only be allowed to modify by spending tokens. Now, we've seen this system used before to control the amount of engine development a few years ago, but now it's going to apply it to the entire car. Each team will get the same amount of tokens and can use them to upgrade specific parts of the car over the 2 seasons. Different parts will require a different number of tokens to upgrade. However, any changes made to the cars at the start of the season don't require the use of any tokens whatsoever, and this is why we've seen teams like Renault, Red Bull and Mercedes all rock up to Austria with these massive upgrades on the aero side of things. And this, for me, is really where Ferrari have missed the memo. Their big upgrade in Hungary will require these tokens, and that puts them on the back foot not just this year, but next year as well. Now, let's say Ferrari were in a serious position to win a championship. Sorry. But, let's, for argument's sake, say they were. Now, if you got less of these tokens than your competitors basically from the offset, it's going to be very difficult to keep that car competitive at the end of the season, making any title challenge pretty much nigh on impossible. But let's get back to those news reports from January. The rumour then was that Ferrari's data in CFD, or computational fluid dynamics, and their wind tunnel wasn't really correlating or matching up with one another. Now, if you haven't seen my video on how wind tunnels and CFD all work, I'll leave a link to that on screen and down in the comments. But in short, CFD is a bit like a cheap virtual wind tunnel where teams can test parts on a computer without wasting time and money building up physical models. Now, over the years, the advancements in CFD have really come on and the software is much more accurate than it was. However, right now it's still impossible to create an 100% accurate test bed through a computer program. Wind tunnels are more accurate devices, but they simulate the car in perfect conditions. It's hard to simulate bumps on the track, gusts of winds, Romain Grosjean, or any other abnormalities a driver might face on the racetrack. Anyway, in addition to these, the teams are also forced to run 40% scale models rather than their entire cars in these wind tunnels. Now, this is all to save money and was implemented back in 2009. This further adds to the uncertainty when it comes to adding updates to the car, as you won't really know what it's going to do until it hits the racetrack. Now, this was less of a problem about a decade ago when there were loads of opportunities for in-season testing. However, nowadays, where teams are limited to only a few days over the course of the entire season, you've really got to make sure you get it right, or quite frankly, you're fucked. All of this means now and again the wind tunnel figures will say one thing and then the car will appear on track where the data and performance look completely different. Take McLaren in 2018 for example. Their car looked fantastic in the wind tunnel, but what couldn't be seen was an issue with the car's new wheelbase, which basically mean when it was scaled up from this 40% model to the real life car, the bargeboard area was basically rendered worthless and just didn't work. This is why their 2018 season was so poor in comparison to what we saw the year after. Similarly, Williams saw or didn't see a similar issue in the same year, where it turned out their rear wing decided to basically give up producing downforce when the car really needed it. Ferrari appeared to have caught a similar problem, but given the factory shutdown and how badly Italy was hit by the COVID-19 crisis, it makes it very difficult to fix straight away. Now, the car isn't necessarily as much of a death trap as the 2018 Williams was, but it's still going to be woefully slow in the first rounds of the season, and although I think it will gain some of that performance back, that token system means they're likely to fall away again at some point either in late 2020 or in 2021. For me now, Ferrari's best hope lies in their upgrades, and hopefully that Hungary upgrade will do the work that they hope it does. Otherwise, you're risking not just throwing away this season, but also 2021 as well. And if that does happen, I guess all Ferrari can really do is turn their attention to these new regulation changes coming in 2022. But yeah, it is still important to know that, it's early days. We haven't even had the first race of the season yet. So for all I know, Ferrari are going to come out and have a 1-2 in Austria this weekend. That's just my luck now, isn't it? But yeah, let me know what you do think of Ferrari's pace and where you think they'll end up this season down in the comments below. And while you're down there, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and of course subscribe to the channel for more weekly F1 content. Hope you guys do have a lovely rest of your weekend and do enjoy the Austrian Grand Prix. I'll be back with my instant reaction to that soon on Sunday, but until then, have a good one, guys.